Wealth inequality. It can be gauged as a personal reality, or mapped as a social condition. No matter how it's conceived, there's a gulf between the wealthy and the rest. And it's significant. One response to the reality is to mount philosophical and ethical arguments in favor of equality. The communist strategy appeals to John Rawls and his difference principle. But before that, there's the argument's purest form. Straight equality. Everyone gets the same. It's easy to envision this kind of society. Families occupy indistinguishable apartments. Every Friday they receive an identical bundle of necessities and luxuries. Bread, clothing, wine, chocolate. The ethical demand for equality is satisfied. But there's an intrinsic problem. Sooner or later someone is going to want more wine. And someone who likes chocolate is going to make a trade. Immediately, there are two outcomes. First, while a few people benefit, no one loses. So it's very difficult for anyone to complain. Second, even though no one loses, inequality begins. It's inevitable, because some people getting ahead means that others fall behind. The technical term for this dynamic is a Pareto Efficiency. And the point is that straight equality won't endure when people with different desires engage in free exchange. Consequently, if an egalitarian pattern of wealth distribution is going to be maintained, then either different desires, or free exchange, will need to be prohibited. And prohibitions require enforcers. But this implies that equality is already gone. It's ruined because the enforcers are getting their way, while others aren't. This internal contradiction in the egalitarian world can be papered over. One reliable strategy is to call the enforcers first among equals. Intellectually, this may be smooth. But it won't feel that way for the second among equals. For those who live on the wrong end of the directives, and of the controls. The difficulty with maintaining pure equality in the real world leads to a second, and more flexible version of egalitarian ethics. The primary advocate is John Rawls. His difference principle states: social and economic inequalities are ethically justified if, and only if, they are to the greatest benefit of the least advantaged members of society. Here's how the principle translates as politics.
His name was Hubert H. Humphrey, and he set forth a moral test for our country. He said the moral test of a nation is how it treats people who are in the shadows of life, people who are poor, unfortunate, and really struggling.
More abstractly, here are four societies. Within the rule of the difference principle, which one is ethically preferable? It's going to be C, because people are allowed to engage in a world of economic exchanges that are mutually beneficial. But no one may get ahead at the expense of the neediest. So, to save the egalitarian ideal, Rawls makes two changes to pure equality. First, he realigns the idea of equality with the imperative that no one may be left behind. Second, he allows wealth imbalance, as strictly controlled, into society. In theory, this idea works. There's a problem in practice though. What happens if there are a few members of a society who swallow up all generosity, and convert it to misery? For example, a heroin addict may consume tremendous resources. There are methadone clinics to establish, and hospital stays to cover. Homeless shelters need to be constructed. All that is expensive, and the money has to come from somewhere. No doubt some will be subtracted from the luxuries of the 1%. But some will also detract from those waving the signs of the 99%. And, in the end, no matter how much is spent to rescue the addicted, there will always be those who fall back into the drugs, and into the need. Finally, the problem with the difference principle is that it holds the entire society hostage to the Sisyphean task of rehabilitating the least fortunate. When equality means that no one gets ahead unless the poorest of the poor do, then the bottom 1% ends up holding the rest to infinite ransom.